time now for Coming In Hot with Brent Wallace and former Ottawa Senator Jason York.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, a few gremlins this morning. It's the last day of the regular season, and we're an hour earlier than we usually are. So appreciate everybody joining us. Hi, Yorkie. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Hey, maybe look at you. You're happier the earlier the show.
I'm so tired right now. I was up late. I'm trying to get stuff done for the playoffs. We'll have good news to announce here shortly. So we'll get to all that. This show brought to you as always by Bet365, where it's never ordinary at Bet365. Yorkie, we'll get to your chit chat as always a little later, but our talk show today, we're going to start with Noodles, who is by far the most entertaining analyst in the National Hockey League. And he's pretty smart too. He's the second smartest man in hockey because you have trademarked it. So we'll go with him being second smartest.
Okay. We'll live with that.
Noodles, welcome to the show. Thank you for getting up this morning. I appreciate it.
Noodles, we're good. How did Wally convince you to come on with us at 8 a.m? Is what I want to know.
Cried.
No, I mean I'm an early bird. I've got young kids, so you guys know how that goes. And I'm always up in the 6 o'clock hour. Unfortunately, I was watching. I don't know why. In between games last night, between Montreal, watching that scenario, and then I was watching Edmonton, San Jose. I don't know why, but I ended up watching that right to the end, which was 1 a.m. And then I'm kind of caught in this White Lotus, trying to get through that.
Great. Okay, what episode are you on in White Lotus right now?
I wrote it down because I have to I have to call it up on my bell or whatever on the computer. So season 3, episode 4. About 41 minutes in. So
okay, how
I fell asleep.
how nuts is the mom of that family in White Lotus? The mom who's just always on her meds. And
yes, but the husband's stealing the meds right now.
Yes,
so that's,
see what you're missing, Wally. If you watch TV, you would see these things. White Lotus.
I am trying, but I got to halfway through the first episode. I'm like, this isn't for me.
You gotta stay. White Lotus likes to build. It just simmers, stirs it up, and it builds and builds. I've already finished it, Noodles. I won't spoil it, but it gets nuts at the end. It's fantastic.
I've heard that because my wife is farther ahead than me, so she's always like, you got to catch up. What's happened really is that we always choose a series to watch together, and then I've got 20 because I travel so much. I've got them all downloaded on my phone. Mm-hmm. And recently we start watching it together, and I just fall asleep because I'm like, all right, this is slow moving. So she's like, I'm powering ahead. You do it at your own pace. So I'm catching up, and you're right. It's starting to get a little bit more interesting. Put it that way.
Yep. Starting to bubble.
Well, and then I thought there'd be no chit chat at the beginning of the show. So
Noodles loves chit chat. He's a proud card-carrying member of the Noodles is in the good guy club, Wally. He's
of course he is.
He's got his card.
Noodles, can you sponsor me?
Yeah.
Wally wants.
He needs a sponsorship for the good guy club or what?
Apparently, yeah.
He's dying to get in. He's dying. But you got to start doing things like watching White Lotus, going for beers. Those are all part of it, Wally.
I just went for beers with Kyle Bukauskas on Monday. I paid again.
There you go. Wow. You paid for Kyle too? That's very nice of you.
And his wings.
Wow.
But they were half price wings, so I did get a bit of a deal. So that's
there's always an extra layer when Wally
back home. You took the leftovers home, so you're like, okay, I'll pay for it.
Yeah, I got lunch for the next day. Noodles, it's the final game of the regular season. How excited are you to cover the Carolina Hurricanes Ottawa Senator game in a game that doesn't matter?
I mean, Yorkie, you can laugh about this too, but when you play these games, I remember being involved in them. I was always being a backup. I would start these games, right? Last game of the season, it's a throwaway game. The refs and the linesmen would be yelling at you, going keep it going. You'd stop a breakaway and be face into the net. They're like, keep it going. I remember playing one game in LA. I swear it was 2 hours and 8 minutes. it was straight time. They were trying to get through it. The Kings weren't in the playoffs. We had, I think, won the President's Trophy that year in St. Louis. It was like, we're just trying to not get hurt type of thing. So, you know what? Tonight will be, I don't know what Carolina's going to dress. They didn't dress a lot last night in Montreal. And we'll see if they do that again tonight or if they put their full team. I was talking to a few people in the league yesterday, and, some teams two games away from the playoffs, they do a skeleton crew. And then the last game they do a full crew. But then I was reading this morning, Jason Robertson, I think, got hurt last night, which is a really
Vlad Nemesnikov.
Yeah. So, that type of stuff, when you're, that's my biggest fear. The Ottawa Senators are going to need everybody firing on all cylinders to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs or, compete in that series. The last thing you need is in a throwaway game, somebody to twist something or, not feel right. But, that's the biggest challenge.
Like, do you remember the Ottawa-Toronto game? I think it was the last game before the playoffs. Mark Bell took out Alfie. Yes. And Wade Redden took a puck off the ankle, had a broken ankle, I believe. Like, you don't want that nonsense going to the playoffs. So I'm curious, like, I don't think Brady Tkachuk plays. I think that was always been the understanding that he was going to play game one and they were going to shut him down till then. Would you hold back guys, Noodles? The thing for me is it's almost like training camp, right? Where you said the game 2 games before you don't dress, and then the last game is, so it seems like a training camp game that way to me.
Well, it does. I mean, the only thing I would do is if Brady wants to get a little timing going, if he's available, then I think you could give, I would love to see him play one game if he was able to, if they believe to, before the playoffs, just to get his timing and his hands going. Because, listen, these guys are special players and they will be fine. Everybody nowadays is in great shape and they do a lot of drills off the ice and handling things and that type of stuff. But I still would like to see if Travis decides to, if he's available to play some of these guys to, get into a rhythm. Even if it's, spot duty, their power play looks different without Brady on it, right? So if for some reason you could get Brady available and get a couple looks and a couple reps on the power play as they run their routes, because I don't think there's a margin for error in the playoffs here. Like, I think it's, you're going to need everything and everything kind of running perfect to really, push this series deep. And I think that's where, if Brady's available, again, you're always worried about an injury, but you can't bubble wrap everyone. I think you choose who's not going to play, and then you live with what everything else is. But I think Carolina is the same thought process. They're not going to be running around, running people through the boards. It's just, hey, let's run our routes and get some game timing before the playoffs. So be interesting to see what their thought process is, because I don't know if you guys have heard. Is it Sunday, Monday that this series would start?
It's expected to be Sunday. That's always been what the Ottawa Senators management has been told anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So, I would be surprised if Allmark didn't start tonight to give him, that proper gapping in between starts. I didn't love Forsberg's game the other night. He had a tough game. That was, man, I'm eye test, but I also will dig into the analytics, and the goals saved above expectation was a negative, I think -3 or something like.
Oh,
that means basically all 4 goals he might have had, right? And listen, I was right there, bird's eye view, and like you're trying to you're trying to sugarcoat some stuff. I'm like, man,
and as a goalie,
your heart hurts. Like my heart, like I'm like, oh, maybe that clicked Shabbat's stick, and I'm like, nah, maybe not, and then even the game-winning goal, he was just late on it. He was just late to get down. You're like, oh, that went in. Like, I was the most shocked in the building because I'm watching him between the benches, and it's a simple pop back play. One-timer skates into it, and all you hear is thud, like the net. I was like, oh my God, it went in. And anyways, it was if Forsberg gets another opportunity, he'll be a lot better. He's been really good down the stretch, but just last game wasn't his best.
Yeah, I was in the building, Noodles, and after everyone, I'm like, how did that go in? How did that go in? I missed the broadcast, but I would have loved to have heard your adjectives you used there. Well, he's played really well lately, and it's just one he'd like back there because he has played really well as of late. And listen, you get a stinker like that. But hey, you brought up a really good point for the playoffs, because Wally and I were chatting about this a few days ago, where the old analogy used to be you need to be humming and get a game in before the playoffs. But the way these guys now have their dynamic warm-ups and they're in the gym, like people don't know this, but they're in the gym right before warm-up. They're getting activated, where I don't know about you, Noodles. I used to sit in the corner and maybe throw in a groin stretch and off I went. Like now, like I don't think it's a bad idea to miss games, because the sports science these guys use right now to get prepared, it's like they don't miss a beat. Like the power play would be nice to get some reps, 100%. I see it too, Noodles. It's missing there, and that would be nice. But I think Brady will be fine, and I won't be shocked if they rest a few other guys as well.
I agree. I think the biggest thing, and you're right, Yorkie, like if you look at right before the game, these guys are still doing dynamic warm-ups. Everyone talks about the soccer game and all that, but you see them in the gym. Everybody's got their own personal routine. I see Jake Sanderson, the little ball, like they handle the ball, and a lot of them do, hand-eye coordination stuff and that.
Yeah. They stole that from the goalies, by the way. That was a goalie thing only. Now the players are doing it.
Yeah, the players are doing a lot of things that the goalies were ahead of their time on, and now what's happened is they've caught up to them. So, but yeah, it's. I don't know what'll happen as far as the roster tonight, but I think it's more imperative just to get through the game, regardless of what happens, and then start to build for a tough series. I admitted on my show yesterday, and I didn't want to sound like an ass, but I was like, I don't, and I did come off like an ass. I'll fully admit this, but I wasn't trying to be. It's okay. The last Battle of Ontario and that, I was still playing. So I'm playing in wherever, Calgary or St. Louis or whatever, Minnesota. I didn't go, hey, you know what? Stop everything I'm doing. I can't wait for this Battle of Ontario. So I didn't, I watched it from afar. I'm like, yeah, that's intense, just like every other playoff series. Yeah. So I came off kind of like this condescending ass where I wasn't trying to be, but I was like, this will be my first experience now of it. But I'm like, back then, nobody cared because I was in the league. They were like, oh, you remember it. And I'm like, no, I don't really. Like, I remember it, but I didn't live it because I wasn't living in Toronto. I wasn't living in Ottawa like I do back and forth. I was in the league. And to be honest, those teams, like I felt back then, they were very good teams, but it was kind of Detroit's league, Colorado's league, right. The New Jersey's league, all of that. So you're watching those teams and you're going, that Battle of Ontario, but whoever wins is still going to get beat by Team X, Team Y. So this is my first time around. So in a really poorly worded way, I was trying to explain that I'm excited about it because it's my first go around where I'm actually feel like I've got some skin in the game because I'm close with both markets.
So it's funny. You're in a no-win situation. You cover both teams. You know them extremely well. You work in both markets. If you say one thing positive about one team, it means you hate the other team. You and I had this chat yesterday. And so I saw on Twitter, you and I had a 25-minute conversation about the game. On Twitter, I see you made a comment about the Leafs, and now everybody thinks you hate the Sens and are picking Toronto to win this. And I'm like, I had a conversation. Like, that's not what you're saying. So let's get to the series. What do you think?
In a no-win situation, you're right. Like I said to you yesterday, and I would say it on air, I think this isn't a 90-10. Hey, the Leafs, just hand it to us in 3 games because we won the division. I think it leans more like 60-40 as far as who's the underdog, who's the favored. And I don't know the numbers, but that's how how I feel about it coming in. If you take a look at it, and then if you start to dissect it individually, you go, okay, if we were doing a draft and, between the two teams, pick your goalie. Well, I'd pick Linus. Okay. But it's a thin margin because Anthony Stolarz has had a great season. You look at his goals saved above expectation. It's really good. But he started 33 games this year. So, is it going to be tough for him to play every second night in pressurous situations? And he really hasn't had a dip in his play this year. He had an injury, but he hasn't had a dip. So
just before that 8-game stretch, though, I think he had 4 losses or winless games.
Yeah. So, in the end, so you look at it, okay, well, I would choose the goaltender. Linus Ullmark just has a little bit more experience, a little bit more. Like, he started games in the playoffs where Stolarz hasn't, but it's pretty close. Okay, let's look at the defenseman draft. I think the best defenseman in the series is Jake Sanderson. So, okay, so that's where number 1 starts. You could argue maybe Shabbat's number 2. And then, I like Ottawa's top 4. I think Toronto's top 6 is deeper. Now, you look at on that thing that you've got Myers and Mermis.
Just that's the last day or whatever, just so we know.
You're probably going to replace them with McCabe and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And Ekman-Larsson, he's probably clearly their number 5. He won a cup last year, and he's a pretty darn good player. So I would say their depth is a little bit more there. I think you look at Toronto's top 6. They would be deeper than Ottawa's top 6, but I think Ottawa's bottom 6 are deeper than Toronto's. So, like I say, I do believe there is a pathway. I can make an argument for both sides. That's what I was saying on my show yesterday. You can make an argument for both sides. It's not that the Leafs have this deep history of running deep into the playoffs. And you look at guys like Brady, Tim, Drake, Dylan Cousins, Ridley Gregg, Jake Sanderson, Thomas Chabot. None of them have played a game in the playoffs. We don't know what they're going to go through. So that's why I'm excited for this Battle of Ontario. But, I also just try and remove emotion and look at it. And when my favorite part of doing things and preparing for even games is I call it the whiteboard. I lay things on the whiteboard. Daryl Sutter taught me that years ago. And he would say to us before a game, he would have both rosters on the board. And he would say, our team doesn't have to be better than their team. But he goes, you break it down individually. He'd go, Kiprusoff, you're the goalie here. You got to be better than that goalie. Jerome McGinley, first line right winger, whoever you're playing, our right wingers got to be better than their right winger. So if you lay the teams on top of each other, that's where I love digging into the matchups. So yeah, I'm going to probably take heat on Twitter on both sides because Leafs Nation thinks I hate the team, and I'm like, no, I don't hate the team. Brad Treliving's a friend of mine. I know some of the guys on the team, and then everybody in Ottawa is like, well, you're a Leaf guy, and I'm like, no, I'm not a Leaf guy. And people in
Calgary,
people in Toronto are like, well, you're a Sens guy, and I'm like, yes, like I'm on both sides, and I want to be Switzerland until this plays out. So that's the
Noodles
about all this.
You know what's going to happen eventually in this show? Wally is going to ask you who you pick to win the series. That's coming soon. So then you're going to then you can't be Switzerland anymore. It's coming. But
that's the biggest thing is I don't know. But right now, if I say it's about 60-40, 55-45, as far as I still believe the Sens are slight underdogs. I do. I just, you have to, if you look at the numbers, you look at everything. Now, season series 3-0. Again, I think Ullmark can be a difference maker. I would love to see what Brady Tkachuk is like in playoff hockey. We saw his comments after the Four Nations face-off. I know that's what they're talking about in Toronto. Is how are we going to control this guy? I don't think the Leafs have somebody who can, counter attack him physically, everything, without, trying to pull. Simone Benoit may try and fight him. Well, why would Brady want that matchup? You don't want that matchup. If I'm Brady, I don't fight. If I'm Brady, I pick my spots as to when I'm going to flex my muscle, we'll call it. And that's the type of stuff. So you're right. Like, there's lots that'll come into it. I'll give my prediction at the end if Wally wants.
Okay. Jake, throw up the board, throw up the lineup again there, Jake. Noodles, I love how you do that. How you go player by player in draft. I did it a little differently, and I look at X factors in the series.
Sure.
And I 100% agree that I think Sanderson is the best defenseman in the series. But if I flip it and I look at Toronto, I go, well, Ottawa doesn't really have a guy like Brandon Carlo, who's a big shutdown guy. And I've seen what he does when he was playing in Boston. I'm a big fan of his. Like, I thought that was a great move by Toronto. So there's two different things. There's let's be honest here. Austin Matthews, one of the best goal scorers in the league. So you give the benefit there for Toronto, but they don't have an X factor like Brady Tkachuk. So you got two different things there. And then you break it down even more. You got Willie Nylander versus Timmy Stützle. But it's just these teams, to me, and Wally and I spoke about this yesterday, I think it's going to be one with the depth of those second tier guys. Like as much as Matthews and Tkachuk, and to me, it always comes down in the playoffs to your third line. Your third line is the team that gets you through because it's such tight checking. Look at all those great teams that won cups. Like, you go back to those Tampa teams with Yanni Gourde. You go to those Pittsburgh teams when Crosby, like those guys get neutralized a lot, and you go down to your third, like the Dupuis and and those types of players. So I guys like on Toronto, for me, do you know who has to be huge for Toronto is what's Max Domi going to play like? How is he going to play versus a guy like Shane Pinto? How is Dylan Cousins going to do in his first playoff? Is he going to outplay Tavares? Like, I like those second tier matchups because to me, that's how you're going to win in the playoffs. And that's to me where this series, aside from goaltending, it always comes down to goaltending. Always, always, always. But those second tier matchups are so important.
I agree. And you add one more thing into it. Like, the third line, I think, is going to be instrumental. And that's where if you have some form of Pinto, Greg, if Nick Cousins finds, his stride here coming off a long injury, Amadio's won a cup. That's the reason why Steve Stais brought in some of these guys. David Perron's not going to be overwhelmed by the situation. Amadio isn't. Nick Cousins isn't. Jensen's played playoff games. Like, these veterans that have kind of seen some stuff, they might be able to calm the scenario down and go, hey, this is how it's played. This is what we need to do. Claude Giroux is not going to be overwhelmed by the situation as well. The other thing, too, is Claude Giroux has to understand, like, this might be one of his last kicks at the can. Like, I look at X factors, and I agree, Yorkie. I think third lines, I think there are guys that, because when you look at top players, let's say top six, they can't, a lot of nights on certain nights, they might cancel each other out. Each top player gets some points, or they get shut off the board. And now you look to the second tier. And that's where you do your matchups. I think Shane Pinto's really instrumental because games 3 and 4, Travis is going to get his matchups, right? So he might be able to try and have Pinto against Matthews and Marner. I don't know, depending on who he feels like, have Ridley, Gregg, stirring some stuff up, on mismatches. That's where I think Ottawa can excel if they're wise about it, taking it to the ground. It's, hey, stinky glove here. It's a little push and shove here. And the Leafs right now, they want to try and establish to everybody how tough they are. Like, that's the Craig Berube way. So you're going to see, pushing and shoving afterwards. Max Domi and Jake McCabe and guys like that. Brandon Carlo. Matthew Nyes is a big body. But in the end, I think it's got to be whistle to whistle. I think you have to be disciplined because special teams are going to be so important. But this is why the details, like this is the fight within the fight. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's why I go back to that whiteboard and lay things. I'm fascinated to see if Fabian Zetterlund can be an X factor, because I if you listen to my broadcast, like I think he's a player that was a really, really good pickup for Steve Stais. He's heavy. He can skate. He's got a great shot. He's starting to get to middle ice, where I think he may have had some poor habits from San Jose, or some different habits, we'll call it, where San Jose plays a different system and different style. I look at guys like that and go, are they going to be overwhelmed by the situation, or are they going to embrace it and go, hey, this is fun. Like, I'm not afraid to go into that area and absorb some contact. That's the one thing. And it comes down to top players, role players, and goaltending. And all of them are in different buckets, and all of them can win you a game on any given night.
Noodles, I want to ask him quickly, because you mentioned Zetterlund.
Yeah.
Can you throw the board up one more time, Jake? We had this debate for about 20 minutes. Where are you starting Fabian Zetterlund in game one? What line is Noodles putting him on?
Well, okay, so I think this is somewhat like that lineup is somewhat accurate. You might start him farther down, but have a short leash on a guy like Giroux, just based on speed, based on what's going to happen, and move guys, mix and match. I think you'll see Zetterlund play higher up in the lineup, but it might not be right from the drop of the puck on Sunday. I think what you're trying to do is spread some skill and some speed and stuff on deep, other lines. I would switch the other, if you're looking at it just I get all worked up about weird things, but like Nick Cousins shoots left, so he would be on the left side. Zetterlund would be on the other side. That would be my, but that fourth line probably looks like it would start. I would probably start it that way. And if you're going to have Giroux play with Tkachuk and Stützle, you have to see what Giroux has on any given night as far as, speed. I think Claude Giroux is a real X factor here. He knows how to play. He's not the biggest body, but he's going to have to play big in certain areas, because that's one thing is the Leafs D will try to be physical. Mm-hmm. I think that's where Ottawa can get to Toronto, is make that D play in their own zone. And because they don't have a Jake Sanderson or a Thomas Chabot that can skate the puck out. Morgan Riley would be the closest. And I think Morgan is a guy that if you apply pressure, there will be some turnovers. But I look at it, and I think that's where Ottawa's going to have to try and take the game, is to the forecheck and to defend in the offensive zone, because the D don't have the cleanest of first passes with the Leafs.
I know I told you 20 minutes, so I'm going to make this short and
That's
quick.
Fine. I got time.
How do you beat the Toronto Maple Leafs? What's Ottawa need to do to win this series?
Okay, so I started there with, I think it's off the forecheck. I really think it's forcing that D to play in their own zone, forcing those forwards that like to stretch. Like if you watch the Toronto Maple Leafs constantly, William Nylander is a guy who likes to spring. He'll stretch to the far blue line and always looking for breakaways and home run passes, right? So if you've got to keep him closer to his own zone, it gives you a better opportunity to defend. Like I say, you defend while you're attacking, you defend in the offensive zone. And then if you can close up the neutral zone, what you're doing is buying yourself time for back pressure. And then the physicality. I think it's, Mitch Marner and William Nylander and a lot of these guys like to make circle back plays. They get over the blue line, circle back, and time and space gets closed. That's what happened if you watch the Four Nations face-off. The first couple games, Mitch Marner it wasn't super effective. Yes, he scored an overtime goal, but that was 3-on-3. 5-on-5 we're just talking about, because there's no 3-on-3 outside of penalties here in the playoffs. 5-on-5, you got to limit time and space. So these circle back plays aren't going to be there because everybody back pressure is going to be leaning on. D leans up and is physical. Those types of things, those are going to be a small detail, because what it does is it forces the Toronto Maple Leafs to not have that east-west skill game. they're going to have to play north-south, and that's where you can try and close them off. And, of course, the goaltender. I mean, if Ullmark is good and gives them a chance and makes all the saves he should and a couple that he shouldn't, I always say that, I think that's what makes it difficult in this series.
He's not very good in the playoffs.
He's only played like eight. Is it 8?
His record in the playoffs, though, is Anthony Stolarz hasn't even started a game in the playoffs.
Yeah,
right. Linus Ullmark's playoff record is not like Linus Ullmark, the Vezina Trophy winner.
No,
well, I know, but it's an opportunity for people to change the narrative. We just said, like, Anthony Stolarz, I have one more start than him. That's not good, but I will say, come Sunday, he's gonna show, hey, it's like this is playing in the playoffs.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
that might be the line of the show.
but in the end, like I look at it, experience means something if you're able to draw off of it. But I also think, and this is the wrong word, but ignorance is bliss too. If you don't know better, go play. That's what I would say to, these guys are chomping at the Tim Stützle doesn't know what it's like to play in the playoffs until Sunday night. So, the puck is the same size, the rink's the same size. Yes, the energy's turned up and the atmosphere, but instead of being overwhelmed by it, embrace it. And I think players now in today's world, they don't shy away from that. They're like, hey, this is really cool. So yes, there'll be nerves, but the challenge is to get to your game as quick as possible. And, if you can survive a first couple shifts on the road, loud building, all of that type of stuff, that's where you're going to need a save. That's where you're going to need a big play or something that just jars the momentum and goes, hey guys, we're playing in a hockey game. Like that's, Yorkie, you've been around it. I've been on the bench for a ton of playoff games. They all take their own pathway within the game. You say, okay, this is how it's going to be ref. This is how it's going to be played tonight. But the quicker you can get to your game within it, then you just settle in and play. And I think that's where guys like Perron and Giroux and Cousins and Amadio and Jensen and guys who have played in the playoffs and kind of felt that they're not going to be overwhelmed by it. And maybe that's a steadying force for everybody else. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, last question. I'm not asking you about who you're picking. It just doesn't matter. Is the question I have: if Ottawa wins Game 1, will Ottawa be burnt, or will Toronto be burnt to the ground? I'm just curious of the carnage that will ensue in Toronto if Ottawa wins Game 1.
I think, on my show we have this saying called it's underpants cam, where it's like, people, how things will go if things get tightened and yes, absolutely. If Ottawa wins Game 1, what the narrative will be is like, oh, here's the same old group that loses in the first round every time. So that's the challenge for the Senators is create doubt, play well. Like I come back to it too. This isn't like, this can't be a series where it's like, oh, well, they're the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like you just got to hand it to them. That's not the case. Toronto's a very good team. So is Ottawa. Like that's the one thing that I would say if I was in the Ottawa Senators dressing room is like, you didn't just scrape into the playoffs. You dealt with tremendous adversity. I think it was 2 months they didn't have their starting goaltender. Mm-hmm. Like Levi Marilainen, yes, he played unbelievable, but like there's been a lot of adversity. Artem Zub missed 2 months? Like more? Like David Perron, it took forever. He had
half a season.
Injury, the personal, like they've had tremendous adversity and still ended up, with yes, it's the first wild card. But keep in mind, if they were playing, in the Metro, they would be in, third place type of thing. So it's not just this, it's not David and Goliath. It's a lot closer than people think. And that's where I go with it is I think Game 1 is instrumental. Yes. But if you're the Ottawa Senators, your whole focus is to win one game in Toronto out of the first 2 to split the series. That has to be your realistic expectation. So if you do it in Game 1, yes, the underpants cam gets very, very, the focus is on the Toronto Maple Leafs for sure.
Fair enough. And by the way, people forget, like if Ottawa wins tonight, they will have the 5th most wins in a regular season in franchise history.
Yes.
Like it's right. Like we act like they're in a wild card spot, but this is a very good hockey team. So Noodles, I appreciate your time as always. Thank you. And I love your work on Overdrive, especially with the underpants cam.
Well, people are mad at me right now. Like I say, I can't. I fully had to admit, like I was trying to get out a better comment yesterday, and I started the show just like a jackass. But I was like excited for this Battle of Ontario because I get to live it now. I never lived it when I was playing in the league because I didn't care. That was my point. So now I'm a spectator. I'm drinking my greens this morning, so I'm ready to going for a workout.
That's why you have the best show in Canada. We appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks
Noodles.
Yep.
There you go. Jamie McLennan, as we like to call the second smartest man in hockey, next to you.
Oh my
or
God!
Maybe he's the smartest.
Do you know when Noodles does games? When I used to do games, our voices sound eerily familiar on the broadcast. I've been told that by similar.
Yeah,
similar. Yes, very similar. Anyways, that's so funny. Anthony Stolarz I have started more games than him, and that's not a good thing. But it's we to your point, we talk a lot about Allmark. He doesn't have a lot of experience in the playoffs. Like he's played.
I think it's 8 games.
I think it's around 8. Let me look.
Yeah, I thought I looked it up
earlier. It's no more than 10. And in those games, he hasn't had a ton of success. So
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Brooksy.
I'm saying, Brooksy.
He's got 9 games started. He has a 359 goals against average. He's 3-6 and an 887 save percentage. So
so throw the. I'm throwing the experience and history out the window there. I think you just go back on who's been the better goalie throughout their career, and it's been Allmark. So you still give the edge to Ottawa there, and both goalies have had great seasons, but both goalies haven't played what a normal starter would in a year, which is probably a good thing because you don't have the wear and tear you normally would on your body. You're rested because it's going to be like it's a good thing.
People are arguing that right now in Winnipeg whether Connor Hellebuyck has played too much hockey.
Yeah,
we'll find out.
He's talk about pressure though on the Winnipeg Jets. Like there's a guy that could win the Hart. He's going to win the Vezina, and could lose in the first round again.
Yeah, there'll be carnage there too. That would be chaos.
Oh yeah.
All right, so got to get to some business, but we do want to welcome into our show for the first time Merkley Supply, who Yorkie, I know you are a big fan of. Merkley Supply, home to the largest masonry boutique in Eastern Ontario. They deliver to Gatineau, Kingston, Ottawa Valley, surrounding areas. If you're looking for stone, brick, landscaping products, or specialty building supplies, count on Merkley Supply. From Canada's Supreme Court to your home front steps, no matter your project, Ottawa, Merkley is proud to set it in stone. Learn more at merkleysupply.com, merkleysupply.com, or visit their showroom in Hintonburg. Merkley, mark every milestone.
Well, let's just put a picture of my house up there because that's where I got my stone from. Merkley Supply. Why didn't you tell me?
Which was before we signed the deal, so you got no deal.
Damn it.
But thank you for being a customer of Merkley Supply. Been around for 125 years, by the way. By the Charm Diamond Centers. It's proudly Canadian owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. Check out the large selection of Canadian lab-grown diamonds. Mine diamonds don't pay until 2026. Apply for the Charm Diamond Flexity card today and get approved for no interest financing on your purchase in minutes. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com. Chosen forever. Charm Diamond Centers. By Gabriel Pizza, the official pizza of the National Hockey League's Ottawa Senators and first round winners. And coming in hot, of course. Download the Gabriel Pizza app. Look, check them out online right now if you haven't, or use even on the Gabriel Pizza app. They have tons of deals, deals for game days, deals for Brady. Like you can get all kinds of deals with Gabriel Pizza. Use the app. And if tonight the Sens score 4 against the Carolina Hurricanes, tomorrow you get 40% off any 9-inch pizza of your choosing. So that's GabrielPizza.com. Download the Gabriel Pizza app. Of course, by Sobeys. Today's the final day. If you haven't already got your picks in, you can check today and see how your picks went. I struggled down the stretch. We've had a lot of fun playing the My Sobeys NHL picks for the last few months. One lucky winner, and it won't be me, is going to the Stanley Cup final. So thank you once again to Sobeys for being part of our show, and appreciate you guys can still, by the way, download the app. They got lots of deals in there too. And by the way, they got some coupons. Just I know everybody likes their coupons, or maybe it's just me. All right, Yorkie, back to the show.
I think Charlie's going to the Stanley Cup Finals for her picks this year.
Oh,
she's got tickets.
Did you get your pick in for Charlie today?
I had it in yesterday and we didn't use it, so I thought we were done with it. Charlie was waiting for the last game. We didn't even do Charlie. We didn't even do the dog picks the other day.
So I forgot the last time, but I do know that Charlie picked Ottawa to beat Chicago and Gertie picked Chicago to beat Ottawa. And so here are the updated standings as we get into today's final game. So I will say we have rebounded nicely.
Oh, we didn't do the picks last. Did you give me Ottawa on that last one too? I took.
I gave you, because if you're not going to get your pick in, it's not my responsibility.
I'm closing in on a 30-win season, Wally. That's like a 30-goal season. I'm in the 30-goal club.
Well, it doesn't matter. Remember, it doesn't matter if you get there or not. Nobody gives a shit if you win 30 games or get to 30 goals or do anything in the NHL unless you win the Stanley Cup. Nobody cares.
No, 40 something.
That's what you said.
40. No, I said 30. It's great. It's great, but it's not. 40 is something and 50 is something you really celebrate. That's the way it goes.
You just changed to whatever fits your narrative. By the way, let's get to this show brought to you by Bet365, our official presenting sponsor of Coming In Hot. Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner, every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app. Use code NATION to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connectsontario.ca. So here's tonight's final Ottawa Senator home game. The Sens, the favorites to win. The over-under set at 5. Part of me thinks that this is going to be a sleepy game. Other part thinks it'll be very little defense. I'm going to take the over.
Yeah. With Carolina, you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. A game like this is pretty unpredictable because you watched Carolina play that Montreal game last night and you're like, they didn't really show up. And I don't know. Well, could be a tough one. Games like this, it might just be a, excuse me, after you. Don't mind if I do. You go ahead and take that puck out of the corner. No, I'm not driving the net. I might get hurt doing that. So I don't know, but we'll see. We know who's starting yet. Travis hasn't named his starter yet, right?
No, but you got to think it's Linus Ullmark. He's not going to sit that long before playing game one.
I don't know about that.
I'd be shocked if it's not Linus Ullmark.
Yeah. So play tonight, Thursday, then Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday. It's 3 nights off, and then you start Sunday in Toronto. Yeah, it makes sense.
2 nights off, Friday night, Saturday night.
Well, I'm talking sleeps. Thursday. You got 3 sleeps, Wally. We always do it in sleeps because the body recovers. The body recovers during your sleep phase. So a Thursday sleep, a Friday sleep, and a Saturday sleep.
Yes. So I don't think he's going to have like an entire week off and then play game one. I just don't see it happening.
3 sleeps, and he's ready to go.
Okay. All right. Anyway, Jake, can we hear one last time? You don't have Charlie though, right? So we're going to have to give Charlie the Sens.
Sure.
Here's Gertie one final time. One final time for you. Where are you going? Carolina.
Carolina.
On our final home game. So disappointed in Gertie today.
Oh, Gertie. I don't even think she sees the emblem. She's just a chow hound. What are you?
She's over 500.
What are you using for treats there, by the way? Will Gertie eat a basic Crunchio, or is it got to be like a high reward treat?
Oh no, that's her like kibble. That's what she eats for the meals.
Oh, you just throw some kibble.
But I also mixed in. She gets beans and ground beef. We make a thing and then we mix it in as well.
Beans. Oh my God.
Green beans are great for dogs.
Oh, green beans. I thought you said beans.
Yeah. Well, I did, but I didn't specify the green bean part.
Green beans.
Yeah, green beans.
Yeah.
I heat it up in the microwave. And it's great. She has great.
Charlie actually likes ice cubes. She thinks ice cubes are a treat.
See, the simple things in life.
Yeah. What's better than a nice ice cube if you're a dog? You just think it's the greatest thing in the world.
I've spent hundreds of dollars on toys. She finds a stick in the backyard. It is the greatest thing for her ever. She'll walk around with that all day. Anyway,
here's a question for dog lovers, though, Wally. Is it like I get worried when my dog starts eating the stick, and because usually they're going to go puke after, aren't they?
No, Gertie tends to spit it out. Like you can see her just play her tongue, just trying to get it off her tongue. So, they're fine. They figure it out pretty quick.
All right.
She also likes coffee cups, like Tim Hortons or McDonald's coffee cups that are laying around.
Gertie probably does a better job than you of rolling up the rim. It's probably just perfect. Look at this. Gertie comes out. No shit. Lost again. Oh, good. Free coffee. Free coffee.
That's a good point by you. Quickly, before we get further into this thing, I need you to take care of our friends.
Our good friends at BEI. Spring is just around the corner. So that means it's time to start thinking about doing some landscaping, perhaps some aggregate, maybe some nice stone, maybe redoing the driveway. Monisher Excavating is here to help you with all of those needs with some competitive pricing. So give them a call at 613-432-1120 or go to monisherexcavating.com. BEI is helping to shape the Ottawa Valley.
And finally, Club EG seems to be doing everything in the Ottawa golf scene these days. Aside from becoming a member to have access to 60 amazing courses at member-only rates around the Ottawa area, they run over 10 golf leagues, several golf trips all around the world. I would love to go on a golf trip to like St. Andrews, including the City Match Play Championship. This Match Play Championship taking place in Ottawa is for golfers of every skill level. There's a division for any skill, any age, and yes, male or female. Come one, come all, as they say. There are some team divisions as well. You can enter any division that suits you and get matched up in a bracket-style playoff format. That's for Ottawa and the surrounding golfers. Check out the details at citymatchplay.golf, citymatchplay.golf. Individual divisions, team divisions. There is no reason not to play in this great city championship. We could team up, Yorkie, but we'd have to be in like the over 100 group.
We need strokes. We need strokes.
Check it out at citymatchplay.golf or just check out clubeg.golf to get started playing more golf this summer. You and I out on the course together, just telling stories, walking the fairways.
Yeah, I could see it. Well, if you're not that terrible, like you can hit the ball a little bit. How about that for an endorsement? You're not that terrible.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you. Thanks. I don't know what to say there.
I'll just say thank you.
There's something else I got to get to. Oh, by the way, I asked yesterday about people to email into the show about their stories of living with Leaf fans. If you're a Sens fan, I'm shocked at how many people have sent in letters. Course. So tomorrow we're going to try and have a couple on the show, and tomorrow we're going to give our Stanley Cup picks as well and do all that stuff. Yeah. I will try and read some of them as well because they're pretty good. Lots of people are trying to understand where their families all went wrong, what has happened. So it's good. Anyway, thank you for that, for people that have written into the show. So Yorkie, final game of the season. Are you picking Ottawa or Carolina, by the way? I still haven't gotten your pick.
Tonight? Yeah. I don't know. I'll take Ottawa. Home game back-to-back for Carolina. Ottawa finishes off with a win. They doing jersey off the back night after the game like they always do. Give the jerseys away to the fans. Yeah. Have a nice win. Give the jerseys away. 3 sleeps before the playoffs. Let's go.
All right. Tomorrow we are back. Graham Nichols will join us. We will do our Stanley Cup predictions. We will get to the bottom of the Ottawa Senators beating the Toronto Maple Leafs. We may have some news for you. We have a lot of things in the pipeline, as they say, Yorkie.
Yes, we do.
So until then, we will see you all later. Thanks for tuning in for today's show. Thank you to Noodles, as always. Always great to hear him. He's on the broadcast tonight one final time, and catch him on Overdrive all the time. One of the best shows. One of the best talk shows there is. See you, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Coming In Hot. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode.